There is a brown bottle sitting in your bathroom cabinet right now that costs $1, maybe $2, and it will stop a drain clog before it ever forms. Not clear one after the fact. Stop one from ever happening. And the wild part is you do not have to take my word for any of it, because this stuff proves it is working the second it touches the pipe. You pour a little in, and it foams up white right there in the drain while you watch. That foam is not a gimmick. That foam is the whole treatment happening in real time in front of your face. I have been a plumber for a long time, and I want to be straight with you about that word in the title. Instantly. People throw that word around to sell you things, and most of the time it is garbage. Here it is honest, and I am going to show you exactly why. I am also going to earn the other big claim that this stops clogs, because that one sounds like a stretch too until you understand what a clog actually is and where it comes from. And stick with me all the way to the end, because I am going to hand you something better than a fix. I'm going to give you a 30-second test that uses this same foam to read every drain in your house and tell you which ones are quietly turning into a clog and which ones are already clean without you pulling apart a single pipe. That test alone is worth the next few minutes. The bottle is 3% hydrogen peroxide, the plain one, wound care, first aid aisle, $1 or $2 at any grocery store or pharmacy. Not the salon strength stuff, not the food grade concentrate, just the ordinary brown bottle your grandmother kept under the sink. Hold that thought on strength, because it matters a lot for safety, and I will come back to it hard. Now here is what is actually going on inside your drain. And once you see it, you will never look at a slow sink the same way again. Almost nobody explains this part, so pay attention, because it explains the whole video. A clog does not just appear out of nowhere one day. It builds. And it builds on a foundation. That foundation is called biofilm. Biofilm is a thin, sticky layer of bacteria that coats the inside of your pipe. Think of it like a living slime, a mat, glued to the pipe wall. It is not the clog. It is what the clog holds onto. Here is the analogy that makes it click. You know how plaque builds up inside an artery. It does not fill the artery in one night. A little sticky layer forms on the wall, and then more sticks to that layer, and more sticks to that, and slowly the opening narrows. Your drain is doing the exact same thing. The biofilm is the sticky wall. Grease coming off your dishes, hair, little bits of food, coffee grounds, all of it drifts down and catches on that sticky mat instead of washing straight through. That is your clog assembling itself, one anchored scrap at a time. So think about what that means. If there is no sticky mat, there's nothing for the grease in the hair to grab. The stuff just rides the water down and out. Kill the mat, and you kill the clog before it is even born. That right there is the difference between prevention and cleanup, and it is the whole reason a dollar bottle beats a caustic jug of drain cleaner. Now, the reaction. This is where instantly earns its keep. Hydrogen peroxide is a strange little molecule. It is basically water with one extra oxygen atom hanging on, and that extra oxygen wants out. On a clean, dry surface, peroxide is lazy. It just sits there. But the second it touches living gunk, everything changes. That biofilm, all those bacteria, they carry an enzyme called catalase. An enzyme is just a tool a cell uses to speed up a chemical reaction. And catalase does one job. It rips hydrogen peroxide apart into two harmless things: plain water and pure oxygen gas. That is the fizz. That white foam boiling up out of the drain is oxygen gas being torn loose from the peroxide by the very gunk you are trying to get rid of. So the foam is not a sign. The product is working somewhere out of sight. The foam is the product working, right where you can see it, converting a sticky bacterial mat into a mess of collapsing bubbles. As all that oxygen erupts, it agitates and lifts, and the peroxide itself is oxidizing the film, which is a fancy way of saying it is chemically prying those bacteria apart. It steals from their cell walls until the walls give out. That is why you can trust your own eyes here. You are not waiting an hour and hoping. The reaction is loud and it is immediate. If there's gunk, it foams. Every time. And this is the part that quietly answers the smell too. That sour, rotten egg funk coming off a drain is made by a specific crowd of bacteria that give off sulfur gas. Same mat. When the peroxide oxidizes the biofilm, it takes those sulfur makers out with everything else. The smell does not get covered up with perfume. The thing making the smell gets wiped off the wall. Same story for drain flies, those little moth-looking bugs that show up around a sink and drive you up a wall. They do not breed in the water. They breed in that film on the pipe wall. Take the film, and you take their nursery. So let me put a number on this before we go further, because I always do. A plumber coming out to clear a grease-clogged kitchen drain runs you $150 to $300 in 2026, and that is for a single fixture on a normal weekday. Call after hours because you have got standing water and it climbs from there. The brown bottle is $1 or $2, and one bottle treats every drain in the house for weeks. That is the price of a coffee against the price of a car payment. Let me stack that up against the other things people reach for, because I want you to see the whole ladder. At the bottom, the peroxide, $1 or $2, gentle on old pipe, works on prevention. Next rung up, the enzyme drain treatments, the ones that come in a jug and feed bacteria to eat the gunk. Those actually work fine, but they run you $15 to $25 a bottle, and they take days to do what the peroxide does in a night. Next rung, the caustic openers, the lye and acid jugs, $5 to $20 and up. Those I want you to stay away from on an older house, because they generate heat, and they are hard on aging metal and old joints. You are paying to slowly damage the very pipe you are trying to save. And at the top of the ladder, the professional call, $150 to $300 for one clogged drain. Same job, 4 wildly different price tags, and the cheapest one on the list is also the gentlest and the only one that stops the problem before it starts. And the trade will not push the coffee because there is no money in prevention. That is not a conspiracy. It is just plain economics. Nobody builds a business on the fixes that stop the calls. All right? That is the core of it. The reaction is real. The prevention is real. And you can watch both happen. Before I show you exactly how much to pour and when, one quick thing. If this is already saving you a service call, you are going to want the rest of what I have collected. I put 100 of these old house fixes into a guide called 100 Old House Fixes that save you thousands. It is built around at-home checklists you can actually follow and a season-by-season maintenance calendar. So you catch the small stuff on your schedule instead of on an emergency plumber's. The link is down in the description, and there is a scan code on the screen if that is easier for you. Now let me shift over to the drain you are not smelling yet. Because while your kitchen sink is the one that gets your attention, your bathroom drains and your laundry standpipe are building the same film quietly, and the routine handles all of them the same way. Here is the dosing. 2 versions, and you want both. The daily version is a cap full. Just the cap off the bottle, poured down each drain after you finish the evening dishes, and the sink is done being used for the night. That is it. It is a maintenance dose. You are not trying to blast anything. You are just keeping the mat from ever taking hold. Do it after the last use, so the peroxide has still water to sit in and do its job overnight instead of getting rinsed straight down. A cupful a night across your main drains works out to pennies, and it is the single cheapest habit in plumbing. Give your garbage disposal a little extra attention here, because it is the worst offender in the house. A disposal does not send food away, it just grinds it small enough to ride the water down, and every bit of grease and starch that comes off your plates coats the underside of those splash guards and the inside of that chamber. That is a biofilm factory. Run the disposal, let the sink drain, then pour your capful right down into the disposal and let it foam through the grinding chamber overnight. That is the one spot where you will see the biggest reaction and get the most out of the habit. The monthly version is the deep reset. Once a month, pour a full cup of the 3% down the drain and leave it. No water chaser. You want it to sit undiluted overnight, so it has hours to work on the film instead of seconds. In the morning, run the hot tap for a bit to flush everything through. And here is what to watch for on that flush, because it is oddly satisfying. You will see little gray-brown flecks come through in the water. That is the dead biofilm letting go of the pipe wall and leaving. That is the mat that was going to become your next clog, going down the drain in pieces instead. Now, I have to stop you on one thing, because I would be doing you dirty if I skipped it. If you are on a septic system, do the cap full, but skip the monthly cup. Here's why. Your septic tank runs on a balance of bacteria that break down waste, and a big slug of peroxide poured straight down is an oxidizer. It kills bacteria. That is the whole point of it in the drain. A capful diluted into a whole house of wastewater is nothing to the tank. A full concentrated cup landing in there is enough to knock that balance back. And there's old research going back decades showing repeated peroxide can even hurt the drain field soil. So septic folks, capful yes, cup no. City sewer, you are clear for both. I would rather tell you that than sell you a backfire. While we are on safety, let me give you the short list of what never to do with this bottle, because peroxide is friendly right up until you mix it with the wrong thing. First, 3% only, the household bottle. Do not go hunting for stronger concentrations thinking more is better. It is not. Higher strengths are a burn hazard, and they do nothing useful for you that the 3% does not already do. Gently. Second, and this is the big one, never mix it with vinegar in the pipe. I know the internet loves telling you to pour vinegar down everything. Peroxide and vinegar together make something called peracetic acid, and that is a genuine respiratory irritant, the kind of thing that makes your eyes and your lungs sting. In a closed pipe trap, it can build up pressure with nowhere to go. One at a time is fine. Together in a trap is a bad afternoon. Just do not. Third, never mix it with bleach either, and never pour it on top of a commercial drain cleaner that is already sitting in the trap. If you have already dumped a caustic cleaner down there and it did not work, do not chase it with peroxide. You do not know what you are combining, and you cannot see it happening. Let that stuff clear or get flushed out first. Follow those three, and this is one of the safest things you can put in a drain. It is gentle on old pipe, gentler than bleach, gentler by a mile than the acid-based openers that eat at the very pipes you are trying to save. Let me run through the questions I know you are already forming, because folks ask me the same handful every time. You poured it in and it foamed up like a shaken soda, almost overflowed the drain. Good. That is not a problem. That is a report. It means you had a lot of biofilm in there. The bigger the foam, the more gunk it found. Keep up the routine and you will watch that reaction get smaller over the weeks as the mat disappears. Shrinking foam is you winning. You poured it in and got almost nothing. A little fizzle and done. Now, there are three possibilities, and you have to rule out the last one first. Possibility one, the drain is genuinely clean, which is great news and means you can leave it alone. Possibility two, if that same drain is running slow, the peroxide is telling you the problem is not a fresh organic film on the surface. Something deeper or harder is in there. But possibility three, and this catches people, your bottle might be dead. Peroxide has one weakness nobody mentions when they tell you to buy it. It does not last forever once you crack the seal. Light and heat break it down slowly into plain water. So an old bottle that has been sitting open on a sunny shelf for a year may have turned into nothing but water with no fizz left in it. An unopened bottle is good for a couple of years. Once you open it, figure on about 6 months of real strength. Keep it in its brown bottle, in the dark, cap on tight. And if you ever doubt it, test it. Pour a little onto something you know is full of gunk, a bit of raw potato works, or the crud around a drain you know is dirty. Fresh peroxide foams on contact. Dead peroxide just sits there. If your bottle does not react on known gunk, it is spent, and you are pouring water down your drain. Grab a fresh dollar bottle and try again. Now, if your bottle is fresh and that slow drain still barely reacts, this is where I have to be honest with you about scope. Because here is the line, and I will not blur it. This bottle prevents clogs, and it clears a drain that is slow and smelly from buildup. It will not blast through a drain that is already fully blocked. If your sink is holding standing water and nothing is going down, peroxide is the wrong tool. That is a physical blockage, and a physical blockage needs to be physically removed, pulled out with a snake or the trap taken apart by hand. No liquid you pour in, not peroxide, not the caustic jugs, none of it reliably clears a solid plug. Do not stand there pouring bottle after bottle at a dead drain. Save your money and clear it the right way, or the once in a while call the right way, and then use peroxide to keep it from coming back. And that is really the whole philosophy. Do not panic at a slow drain, and do not touch anything genuinely dangerous. No reaching into disposals, no mystery chemical cocktails, no tearing into a line you are not sure about. Saving money is not about reckless heroics. It is about knowing what to check, what to treat, and what to leave for someone with the right tool. Okay, the thing I promised you at the top, the test. Remember how I said the foam only shows up where there's gunk? Catalase comes from the living film. No film, no catalase, no reaction. That means the foam is not just a treatment. It is a truth teller. It literally cannot fizz on a clean drain. So here is your 30-second whole house diagnostic. Take your bottle and go drain to drain. Kitchen sink, bathroom sinks, tub, shower, laundry, the works. Pour a small splash of peroxide down each one and just watch for a few seconds. Where you get a strong, fast foam, that drain is building biofilm right now, and it is on its way to a slow drain or a smell or a clog. That one needs treating. Where you get a weak fizzle or nothing at all, that drain is clean, and you can leave it completely alone. You just read the entire plumbing health of your house, drain by drain, in the time it takes to walk from room to room, and it costs you a few drops. No camera down the line, no plumber's diagnostic fee, no guessing. The same foam that fixes the drain also tells you which drains even need fixing. That is the trick nobody hands you. And now, it is yours. Before I let you go, one more time on that guy, because this test is exactly the kind of thing it is full of. On the 100 old house fixes that save you, thousands walks you through, catching the small leaks early, the slow drips under a cabinet or behind a wall that quietly ruin a floor or a ceiling before you ever notice. And it shows you how to spot when a cheap fix is the real fix, so you stop paying for service calls you never actually needed. The link is in the description, and the scan code is on your screen. And if you want more of these, the ones that keep money in your pocket instead of a plumber's, subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy, because that is all this channel does. So, instantly, that word actually earns it here, and you do not have to believe me because you watched it happen. $1 bottle, a capful a night, a cup a month, and a drain that never gets the chance to clog in the first place. Go pour a little in tonight. Watch it foam, and you will know.